Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be in the coming of the Son of Man. In those days, before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day that Noah entered the ark. They did not know until the flood came and carried them away. So will it also be in the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. 2 women will be grinding in the mill, one will be taken, one will be left. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on which day your Lord will come. Be sure of this, if the master of the house had known the hour when the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake, not let the house be broken into. So too you must also be prepared, for at any hour you do not expect the Son of Man will come." The Gospel of the Lord. Good morning. Everybody like my new ensemble? I think the purple clashes with my eyes or something like that. It's just takes a little getting used to. I must say that it's watching Roger over the last 6 months up here perform the role of deacon. I thought it was so easy, and now that I'm doing it myself, it takes a little bit of. I have a notebook over there that will keep me up to date on all the right things to do. Let me first thank you for all your prayers to make this happen. It's a pretty special and joyful time for me, and it's a wonderful experience, but it never would have happened without all of your prayers, and thank you. Let me begin today by talking about the holidays. They're coming, in case anybody didn't know it. They started telling us that about Labor Day, so they're on their way. One of the joys of the holiday season that all of us experience in some way is the opportunity to revisit some of our family traditions. Each of us has established these traditions, and they somehow become important parts of our lives. Some are even passed down from generation to generation, and they get inexorably knotted together with our family so that every year they have to be repeated. My family, like every other one, has a lot of these, but one of the ones I really like is the annual trip to La Florentina down in Springfield, or to the North End in Boston, or to the South End in Hartford, to pick up the platter of Italian cookies. When you walk into these bakeries during the season, they're just piled high, and you buy them by the pound and take them home, and it's just a wonderful thing. I started this tradition trying to find a good Christmas gift for some of my big clients, and my family, as soon as they saw these things, reacted very negatively that these were all going out of the house. So the tradition became that every year at least 1, probably 2 trays had to stay in the kitchen while the rest of them went out to the clients. And part of that tradition was that every year, some point during the year, when everything was quiet in the house, I'd pour myself a cup of coffee and grab 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 of the cookies, put them on a little plate, and just quietly enjoy the fireplace or the night by relishing the taste of those cookies. It was always a quiet time, and it was always wonderful, and I'll admit to doing it at least once a season, probably more, but let's just talk about one. And in the process of doing that, when it's quiet and you can think about it, each one of those cookies had a myriad of tastes. The beautiful part about the Italian cookies at Christmas is there's chocolate, and there's fruit, and there's almonds, and there's pistachios, and there's pinoles and almonds and all this other stuff. And in order to enjoy the flavor, you really have to relish it. You can't just gobble them down as my kids would do, they just... So in the evening when I was sitting there, you could just sort of taste the tinge and the twitch and the little subtle flavors that were part of that. Well, today, in the Gospels and in the Scriptures in general, it's sort of like one of those Italian cookies. There are all kinds of flavors floating through today's gospel. There's things we pick up very quickly. There's things that are more subtle that we have to pay a little bit of attention to. And it would be nice, I'd encourage you, if you get a chance this week, just to pour yourself a cup of coffee and open the scriptures and pay a little bit of attention to it. The obvious thought is consistent with the theme of Advent. It's get ready. There's a scary component to today's epistle and gospel that said, watch out, big things are happening, get ready. Thieves are coming in the night, and unless you're paying attention, you might get left behind. And that is typical, and that is what Advent's all about, no question about it, and that certainly perks our taste buds, but I hope we don't miss the other things involved. We cannot overlook the fact that mixed into this very strong flavoring, this delicious warning, are a few more subtle things that could quickly get by us. While it does call for us to be alert, we would miss the deeper meaning if we just focused on that one chocolate chip. We have to look at it in terms of layers and look beneath the obvious layer. Beneath this chocolate chip of warning is a cinnamony little layer that tells us to be hopeful. Now, I go back and I look at Noah's flood and the people being plucked out of their field in the middle of the night. Where do you get hope in that? Well, we hope because this big event that we're looking for, that we have to be ready for, is a wonderful thing. We should all be looking forward to it with joy and hope. Isaiah tells us in the very first reading, he sort of puts the icing on this cookie, that by this pending event is so incredible and so wonderful that it will lead people to turn their swords into plowshares. He encourages us to go up to the mountain. So it's a good thing. We're encouraged to go forward. As the second reading comes through, we can also pick up a little anise or almond. There's a smoothness to us that talks to us about preparation, about waiting. You know, as I was thinking about this, waiting is something we all do every day. Some of us do a lot of it. But there's at least two types of waiting, and I think the scripture talks to us about one of them. The first type of waiting is the stuff you do in the dentist office. You walk in, sit quietly, twiddle your thumbs, or page through some ancient magazine, just waiting for your name to be called. The other is when you're waiting for your grandmother to arrive for the holidays, or, God forbid, your mother-in-law. It's an active waiting. You're vacuuming, you're cleaning, you're primping, you're yelling at your kids, you're getting things ready. Sometimes it's weeks and weeks of preparation before this big event, but it's an active waiting. And that's what the scripture is really calling us to today. It's a wonderful event that's coming forward. We all should look forward to it, but we should actively prepare for it. Don't twiddle your thumbs, don't sit back and wait for it to happen, prepare. This season of Advent is wonderful because the secular world and the church world go in companionship. While the secular world is hanging lights and decorations and everything up here, in the spiritual world, we should be doing the same thing. Vacuuming our floors, decorating our homes, preparing for this wonderful arrival that is coming in Christmas. It's a wonderful season, and I hope that we can all see that it is a season of life and of hope, not of warning. Advent also, if you see in these cookies, the scripture, starts talking to us not so much about an event. It's not a 4-week period of time. It's a way of life. It's not something that happens in December. It's something that we should have with us at all times. We are an Advent people. We are asked to live by actively waiting for the arrival of a wonderful event. It is with openness and expectation that we should await this. It is with hope. There is something or someone coming that is going to be a wonderful addition to our lives. It's going to bring light, another taste that flows through the scriptures, as opposed to the darkness we're living in. It's my hope that all of you will pause occasionally during this Advent season, hope to be able to dissect the multiple layers of Scripture. And maybe it's worthwhile to get some cookies and some coffee and a Bible and do it all at once. You can taste the cookies and taste the Scripture all at the same time. The one thing I ask you all to remember, though, that I told my children for a number of years, the almond cookies are mine.